Hi everyone, welcome back to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel and welcome back to the start of a new season. This is the first of many match previews that we will be doing. Joining me tonight, we have a plethora of different faces from different shows all across the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. I'm joined by Harry. Harry, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you, Scott. How are you?
Very good. I'm very, very warm. It's a very warm day here in Amsterdam. I'm also joined by Matthew from the FPL shows. Matthew, how are you today?
I am great, thanks, Scott. Cheers.
And I'm also joined by my fellow extra time. I don't even know what to say.
Panelist?
What's the word? Panelist, yeah. Iain, how are you?
I'm good.
You're in your mum and dad's bedroom and not your own bedroom today.
No, it's my bedroom in my mum and dad's house, but not for long. I've upgraded this season, moving out. So
Ooh.
I know, I'm a big boy now that I'm 30.
Well, make sure you get a good internet connection so you can still do these videos.
I will try.
Yes. So as you probably see, these are a lot of faces from a lot of different videos. We do have a whole host of content on the Gallowgateshots channel. You've obviously got the Always Smiling Faces podcast, Extra Time, and there's so much more as well. If you do like this content, be sure to scroll down a little bit from this video and hit that subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing. And while you're there, if you also give us a little thumbs up, that also helps the algorithm and it helps other Newcastle fans find videos just like this one. And if you want to also be notified when new videos become available, you can also hit the little bell icon and that will get you notifications. So just before we get started, we do also have some exciting news for match previews this year. We have a sponsor. The Gallowgateshots match preview is now brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality and unofficial enamelled pin badges of Newcastle United players, legends, and retro kits. So if you are looking for pins of your Newcastle players, legends, and retro kits, be sure to go to magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. Right, should we get started, boys? Nottingham Forest is the game of the opening weekend of the season for Newcastle United. We're playing on Saturday. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff, isn't it?
3 o'clock, yeah.
I'm an hour ahead, so it's 4 for me, but yeah, 3 o'clock. How are we generally feeling about the start of the season? Harry, I'll come to you first. What are your thoughts on the transfer window up to now, pre-season, and then obviously looking forward to Saturday?
Transfer window, obviously there's lots of questions going about and Twitter seems to be a bit of a horrible place at the minute with it. I think what we've brought in is sensible. Yes, 100% we need more signings. Are we at the stage of worrying? Yes, the season's about to start, so no matter who we're bringing now, they're not going to start the season. Well, I don't imagine they will. There's no one that's going to go straight in the squad. But I'm not nervous for the season. I'm nervous for, obviously, if transfers are going to happen and if they get the ones that they want. But for the season, I'm not nervous. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not too optimistic, but I'm just excited. I'm not nervous, as I usually would be every season. I think it'll be a good season. Top off just and possibly a cup run.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice to go into a season and kind of not have that. I'm not going to even say it, the R word looming over our heads, which is always a good thing. I mean, it could still potentially happen, but I think we're probably on agreement that those days are far behind us, hopefully. Iain, pre-season, what did you think of the performances of the boys in black and white?
For the most part, very good. I thought, particularly in the last 3 games, so the Bilbao, Atalanta, and Benfica games, I thought obviously the calibre opponent we had to raise a game. Benfica obviously Champions League, Atalanta I think were in the Champions League last season. Bilbao very, very good, solid Spanish side. I liked how as well over the weekend I think he split his squad in half. What I thought was that he split the back 5 and played them the potential starters for Saturday against Atalanta and then for the game against Bilbao, the forward player. So I like the way he's approached it. There was some performances where they were a bit lackluster in terms of just what Harry was saying in terms of touching on signings. I still think it's evident we need more firepower in the forward positions. I think we've got a very, very solid set of defenders. Obviously, got the competition with the two goalkeepers now. But if the transfer window closed before Saturday, I'd be worried just with the lack of forward players. I think that is evident that we need that. But on the whole, like I say, the games against Benfica, although we lost that, very, very competitive in that. And then we saw off two good European opponents over last weekend. So again, very similar to Harry, very excited for the season and try and roll on from what sort of the last 10 games we had last season under Eddie Howe. Obviously, there's still, I mean, anything could happen. We could still get relegated, but it's not a major worry. It would probably be quite a stretch if we're in a relegation fight again. But probably not as optimistic as Harry in terms of top half. I think anywhere between 11th to 14th with the current squad. If we get a few more players in, then definitely pushing for top half.
Yeah, I think like we've said, I don't think relegation is something you can completely forget, but you can maybe shift it to the back of your mind a little bit and maybe not worry about it. We'll see what happens in November. I certainly don't think we're going to go 14 games without a win. Although now I've said that, it's going to get clipped up and Christmas 15. Is probably going to get replayed. Matthew, on kind of the transfers, as our FPL guru, Fantasy Premier League, are there any Newcastle players or any new signings that go straight into your day one or your game week one squad?
At the minute, I've got Trippier and Wilson in my team, just because they're such good value. I mean, Trippier at 5 million, when he showed glimpses that he can score goals, he can get assists, got a clean sheet in him now because we've shored up the defence. I think you can't really go wrong with Trippier. As well with Wilson, I don't want to jinx him, but if he stays fit, he's going to get you about 15, 20 goals a season, ideally. You can't really ask for a better fixture than Forest and being at home. I think the home factor is absolutely massive. And the fact that they've got a lot of new signings, I know we'll come on to that in a minute, but it's a good chance for Wilson to kind of put the like shitters up them, for want of a better phrase, quite early on and get a few goals early. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm really optimistic.
Yeah, no, it is nice as someone who didn't play FPL last season, but I have played it since I think 2013 did it start or whenever it started. Like I've played every season. It's nice to almost kind of want to put Newcastle players in your side as opposed to just being I'll put a token one in because I'm a Newcastle fan. When you touch there on Nottingham Forest, bringing in a lot of players, we'll move on to that, and we'll stick with you, Matthew. They've brought in 16 players in total, but that does include a few players coming back from loan. I think it's a 13-player transfer and then loanees returning from last season. They've spent £94 million and they've only recuperated 5 million from that. So it's quite a big gamble from Nottingham Forest. What are your thoughts on their incomings and their dealings in the transfer window?
I think if I was a Nottingham Forest fan, I would be absolutely buzzing. To be honest, like they'll be looking at that thinking they couldn't wish for a better stadium to come to for their first game. They've made all these signings, like you say, 94 million spent. I think in terms of the signings they've made, I think they had to, because the players that actually helped them come up were loan signings in themselves that have now moved on to better things, and they were left with a very thin squad. So they've had to make those investments. I don't think they necessarily needed to invest the amount of money they have. I think they've shown a lot of ambition with their signings. And it makes me just ever so slightly fearful that if we don't kind of book our ideas up early on, they could try and provide a bit of an early shock, because they'll have bucket loads of confidence coming to our place. Lingard obviously signing. I'm sure we'll cover that in a bit. But yeah, there is a little bit of a fear element there that they'll be wanting to pull a surprise out the bag early doors.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, they did lose 11 when they got promoted, so 11 players went out the door. So they've brought in cover for that and built on top, like you said. Looking at the list of players, 2 attacking midfielders, 2 left backs, 2 right backs, 3 centre-backs, 2 centre-forwards, 2 goalkeepers. Like, they've pretty much bought not only first starting, but also backup as well. You mentioned Jesse Lingard. Harry, is Jesse Lingard a worry for Newcastle? Could he come back to haunt us as a kind of the signing that never was and the one that got away?
No, I don't think he will. I never thought he was the right player for us, to be honest. He's getting on. People still think he's youth and he's got time to come, but he is getting on. I don't know how old he is exactly, but must be late 20s. Doesn't
29.
act like it with all this and stuff, like, but and it's like Michael Jackson and stuff. But no, I don't think he will. I think with the amount of players that they have brought in, I think we touched on it before, that they're not all possibly first team. It is backups as well. So like kind of chemistry within the team might be different, and if they still come bringing in and just might be just panic. They haven't been in for a while, and they're just thinking we need to stay here. You got to remember in the Championship that they were close to going down. They had a dreadful start and then flew. But we don't know. Jesse Lingard, no, I don't think he will be a worry. I think at the start of the transfer window, I'd wanted him, but the players that we're linked with now, obviously I know it's not nailed on, but they're miles ahead of what Jesse Lingard would have been from Newcastle.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You know, we've seen it in the past with promoted sides. Fulham quite famously spent, I think it was 100 or 120 million or something like that, and got relegated that same season. Iain, do you think it's a risk, the number of players that Forest have brought in, or do you think that, you know, they'll hit the ground running and cause us some trouble on the weekend?
I hope it's not the latter. But I've just going back to the start of last season. I'm sure one of the newly promoted teams came up, and I'm sure they beat Villa 3-0 or something in the first. I'm sure it was last season, but I just hope that's not the case for us. Obviously, what Harry's just said, I think is it Steve Cooper, their manager?
Yeah, Steve Cooper.
To be honest, as much as he's quite a creepy looking character, really, really good manager. He was good at Swansea, and then obviously took them from pretty much bottom to getting promoted. So he quite clearly knows what he's doing. But like you say, that amount of new players and the amount of time that they've had to all bond and gel as a team, that could work in our favour. But looking at the players that they've brought in, it's, like you say, they've showed ambition and their intent to sort of make a go for it and stay in the league. The likes of Dean Henderson, Jesse Lingard. Biggest thing as well was keeping Brennan Johnson for them. I think had they not been promoted, I think he would easily fit in. Definitely the other 14 that it's classed as, could have walked in any one of their teams, I think. Really good quality player. So, but no, I think Eddie Howe will have a well drilled. I think you'll know what to expect in terms of it's Forest's first game. I agree with Matthew in terms of it's a benefit that we're at home. Obviously, I'm sure Wall Flags will have something planned for the first game back of the season. So just make it an intimidating atmosphere for them and try and not have any nasty surprises.
Yeah, I think Wall Flags have already started the kind of please get in early, because if you think Arsenal was something to view, you've seen nothing yet. They've had a long time to plan this one, so I'm looking forward to watching that on the telly, because unfortunately I couldn't get my season ticket and I couldn't get over for these games. The flight prices are just astronomical because of the fuel crisis, but enough said about that. Moving on to Newcastle, obviously we've brought in our 3 signings so far. Matty Targett obviously signed on a permanent, and then we brought in Sven Botman and also Nick Pope. Matt, Nick Pope has been a FPL staple for a lot of people over the past few years. Do you think he gets to start on Saturday, or do you think we stick with our number 1?
100% starts. Like, you don't even have to think about it. I think, to be honest with you, the rumours might come out like towards the weekend that Dubravka's on his way to Leicester. I think that move's practically done. I think with Pope, like you say, he's an FPL staple. Like, he's been around for years. Everybody loved him. There was a year when he had an amazing season. So many clean sheet points, bonus points, a lot. So yeah, I think with Burnley it's slightly different because they were in a position where they were sitting deep all the time. He was getting peppered with shots. Kind of like to think and hope that the way we want to play now, he's going to be experiencing something slightly different, where he's going to have to remember to stay aware, whereas he's constantly getting peppered with shots at Burnley.
Yeah.
He's going to have to try and keep his focus now, because there might be the occasion where he is just maybe not doing much or passing the ball around. Obviously, against the bigger teams like City, we are probably going to be a bit deeper, but you'd like to hope at home to Nottingham Forest we're going to be pushed higher up the pitch and trying to pen them in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think had Nick Pope signed for us this time last season, he'd probably be experiencing exactly the same as what he got at Burnley, where it was just shot after shot and he was reaction saving and actually making it probably look better in terms of shots saved, and he's always up there with those numbers and that. And hopefully, like I said, he will kind of be a bit more of a, I'm not facing as many shots and I'm going to be more, like I say, keep your mind in the game. And it'll be interesting to see if you can actually do that. Because some keepers need that constant pressure.
Yeah, and I think as well what will do him good is the fact he'll probably have an eye on the World Cup. You'll see Everton doing poorly. You'll see Pickford letting in quite a lot of goals. He'll probably see the opportunity there if he does well the first half of the season to take that number one spot.
Yeah. So for you, Nick Pope starts. I'm not 100% on that. I still think it's a toss of the coin on who Eddie Howe picks, especially after Dubravka's comments. I think it was today or yesterday at the media day, where he's like, the more the merrier. Like, we're all now vying for the same spot, basically. But who knows? Like, obviously, we've brought Pope in, and I don't think Pope has been brought in to sit on the bench, and I don't think he was be expecting that. So maybe we might see a bit more of an eased-in approach, like we saw with Bruno Guimaraes, where we'll let some of the players kind of just bed into the squad and the side. I mean, he started against Atalanta, didn't he? But he didn't start against Atletico, and then I think he played half of the game against Benfica, if I remember rightly. It's been a while. And then Darlow came in because Dubravka got a little injury, didn't he? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see on that. Moving on to the defence, obviously this is another big question on who starts, because we've brought in Botman, we brought in Big Dan Burn in the previous transfer window. The pairings in pre-season have usually been Burn and Shaw and Lascelles and Botman. Iain, centre-backs, what do you do with quite a nice position to be in, where we've got a few selection choices and it's a nice area to be?
It's very similar to a few seasons ago when we had Lejeune, Fernandez. At the time, Lascelles was half decent. For me, Botman, you don't bring him in for 35 million and keep him on the bench. From what I've seen from him pre-season and the games that he played, he's very, very comfortable on the ball. So I think, unfortunately, he'll probably replace Dan Burn. I think we'll see Burn drop to the bench. I would prefer him alongside Fabian Schär. I think he's just a better centre-half than Lascelles. The only thing that's in the back of my mind is, although I know Lascelles missed out a lot last season and he remained captaincy, is Eddie Howe just making him the captain not to upset the apple cart sort of thing. Again, from pre-season, I think Lascelles is probably the weakest of the centre-halves that we've got there. So for me, it would be Fabian Schär and Botman would start at centre-half, which is a little bit unfortunate because I think Dan Burn last season was absolute quality. But it's like what will you say on extra time? There's no real place for sentiment if you want to make improvements. You have to pick your best players, and I think from what I've seen, anyways, I think Botman and Shaw are probably your two starters for me.
Yeah, I mean, we are obviously all assuming that Eddie Howe's going to keep the same formation as we did last season. Harry, is there an argument for playing three at the back and going Botman, Shaw, and Burn?
See, it's funny. I was thinking about that when we were talking there, but I'd say no because we have Kieran Trippier. If we didn't have Kieran Trippier, and maybe if Johnny Shelby didn't get his injury as well, because I think the three at the back, you're relying on the midfield a lot as well. Yeah. No, there's no argument whatsoever. I think exactly what Iain said. There's not time to kind of think, oh, he's a local lad and things like that. I think you just have to play your best players. best players of the ball as well, Shaw and Botman, in terms of centre backs. So no, definitely not. Keep the same, and your two are Shaw and Botman.
And then on the wings, you've obviously got Trippier and Target as your kind of your staples there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so moving up the field a little bit into midfield, you've already touched on John Joe Shelby being injured, and we'll stick with you, Harry. I think we can all agree that Bruno starts, and we all probably all agree that Joe Linton kind of has to start as well. Who fills that final spot? Is it Joe Willock or is it Sean Longstaff?
Depends how I want to play, I think. If we're looking to be on the front foot, then you play Joe Willock. That's what I want to play anyway. Yes, Sean Longstaff has looked a lot better than he was under Steve Bruce. But no, I think you do start Joe Willock and you play, not ideally, but you do play Bruno as your 6. I think if it was kind of the other way around, I'd prefer to have Longstaff further back than Bruno. But no, I think Bruno's your 6, and then you've got Willock and Joe, and Joe helps all over the place, to be fair. It's not like he's going to disappear up at the top and sit on the edge of their box. He's going to drop back and help them because he's his mate as well. So yeah, I think it's Joe Willock for me. Like I said, though, it depends exactly on how we play.
Yeah, and it's funny when Bruno came in, obviously he said, don't expect goals from me. I am more of a defensive midfielder than an attacking one. Obviously, he didn't prove that last season towards the end by getting the goals he did. But Matt, would Bruno be a midfielder that you'd maybe look to keep back? I know we saw it quite a lot against Athletic Bilbao, where he was sitting in front of the back 4, but then you blink your eyes and he's up there with the attack. Is he the ideal box to box for us?
I think so. I mean, the way he did play last year would make me think otherwise. I'd want him kind of further up the pitch. But I think because he's got such good quality out of possession, I think he'd be trusted to be able to have the legs to get back and try and interrupt them in possession, and also be able to get up when we're on the counter. So, I mean, I don't think that's a real issue. What I would say is we've heard about Maddison having bids made for him. I would say that if Maddison was to sign, I think he would be wasted out wide. I know there's talk of him being like an inside forward who'd come a bit more central. I just think he would probably be the number 10, and Bruno would be the more deeper kind of playmaker.
Yeah.
He would try and control and dictate play from there. And Maddison would be the one bombing forward, to be honest.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think it's a funny one with Bruno because, like I say, you can pretty much play him anywhere up that middle of the pitch. But given the personnel around him at the moment and what could potentially come, I think we'll see a different Bruno than we did last season. Iain, for Joe Linton, I think it's a no-brainer that he has to start. But does he maybe need to watch his temperament a little bit?
His temperament, yeah, he's got shades of Mitrovic where he just sees red, and I think it was Benfica, wasn't it? He got sent off.
Yeah.
And I know it was for 2 yellows. The first yellow I thought was very, very harsh. But the challenge that he actually got his second for was a straight red. And he's got that in his game. So I think I don't think Eddie Howe's stupid though. I think he'll see that and he will have a quiet word with him. Just in terms of the midfield as well. Just with you saying there that we'll see a different Bruno, the player that I've seen a difference in pre-season, Almiron, and he's earned himself a place in the starting 11. Where that would be though, I don't know, because I thought he was very clever. I'm sure he played as a number 10 in one of the games, and his runs were very intelligent. But then he's obviously being used out wide. And saying that, his work ethic in terms of it matches Ryan Fraser in terms of when you're pressing high. So I'd be interested to see who sort of the midfield. Definitely Joe Linton and Bruno pick themselves. Be interesting to see who he goes as like the number 10, and then who he's picking as his right winger. Because although, like I say, I've said the same last season, St Maximum's done nothing to wow us. I know he got a goal against Athletic, but for the rest of pre-season, he's just been his usual very frustrating self. So it'll be interesting to see who gets the right winger spot for me.
So are you thinking more Miggy as the 10 role and then Fraser out on the right?
I would probably say that, yeah, based on performances. I think Almiron, for his preseason, he has to be in the starting lineup. I think he's been, obviously, was it 6 goals, possibly 5?
Yeah, 6
It was
goals.
5 goals and a few assists, or 6 goals and a few assists. So for me, he's been the standout player pre-season.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think the one thing to bear in mind is it was only pre-season, and a few of those goals did come against maybe lesser opposition. But I mean, he performed against Atletico. Was it Atletico? No, it wasn't Atletico he played for, was it? It was
Benfica. Where he scored 2.
Yeah, him and Trippier seem to link up really nicely. They're making some good runs. Trippier overlapping, passing the ball between them. He seemed to be dead set on St. Maximum starting. I think we're all probably in agreement there. Is there any argument to play St. Maximum on the right and maybe look to push Joe Linton up on the left and then have Miggy as that 10 role just to kind of pad that midfield out? Or is Joe Linton definitely playing in the centre for everyone? Matt, what's your thoughts there?
I think you can't. That's going towards like square pegs, round holes, like Steve Bruce-esque tactics, isn't it? Really. Sorry, Steve.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't think it should happen myself.
No, I think the way that, especially for the first game, the opposition Forest's midfield is by far their weakest. I think they play 2 in midfield. It'll be a back 5. So I think the fact that they've got a 2 and we'll have 3, ideally, we're going to outrun them immediately. I think Miggy playing centrally is an interesting one because I think against Atalanta he was playing centre mid with Anderson and Longstaff.
Yeah.
So I think there is an argument that maybe Howe's got that in the back of his mind. So Fraser might be playing out wide right and Almiron might be the 10. So we'll just have to see.
I completely forgot about Elliot Anderson as well.
Yeah. He's probably going to get a couple of runs out before they decide what's going to happen. I'd imagine it's going to be as a substitute, but he's another one of those players that can play either in the middle or out on the left. And that opens up our options for, maybe he's pushing Saint out on the right or putting Saint in the middle and having another player out on the left. Harry, when it comes to Elliot Anderson, there's been a lot of debate. Should he stay? Should he go on loan? What are your thoughts on Elliot Anderson? Has he done enough for you in pre-season to warrant a space?
I'd prefer to see him as a sub over Jacob Murphy if it was to be out wide. Now, if we can get him to a championship club on loan, I think you do it straight away, instantly, because it gives him time to mature. I was at both the pre-season games and obviously watching the others. And I feel he is good and he looks well above his age, but he still needs to mature. I feel like there's a few times the moment got to him and he tries that extra touch and things like that. Kind of, I suppose, like when Maxi joined, almost kind of thinking that he can beat the world and then thinking, oh shit, the ball's gone. So if he stays, you do start him. I'd say you bring him on the wing. I don't feel like, I haven't seen enough of him, but I do feel he should start on the wing. But if a championship club comes calling apart from West Brom, then yes, let them go.
Yeah, those were the rumours, weren't they? That our previous head coach was looking for a loan of one of our players. Okay, so, and I think we're probably all in agreement about Callum Wilson being the starting striker. It's going to be interesting with fitness for this game, I feel, because of, obviously, we've got the 5 substitute thing coming in. We maybe saw a little bit light when it comes to being able to actually put out 5 decent replacement substitutes for what we've got out on the field. I think maybe there's 1 or 2 positions we could do with bolstering that. But also there's that new, what's it called? The always in play with the ball. There's going to be 8 ball boys with a ball and the 4th official. And the idea is to get the ball back to the player as quickly as possible So if the ball goes in the crowd, they just throw a new one out straight away. If the ball's out on the side and there's no one around it, they'll throw a new one out straight away. So I think I saw a stat, and I think it was posted in our group chat. So like 55 minutes is what you typically get in a game of actual play time. Even though it's a 90-minute game, there's a lot of time wasted with the ball being out of play and that sort of stuff. And that's on average, of course. It's different game by game. Do you think that with that new rule coming in, players are going to get a lot more tired a lot more quickly? And are we going to need to use maybe 4 or 5 substitutes? Matt, how does that play into Eddie's game plan? And also, on a side note, how does that play into your FPL kind of setup? Because you could have players coming on 20 minutes in who you think are just going to be on the bench, grab a goal, get you some points. What do you do?
Yeah, first of all, I can imagine it's going to be absolute chaos. There's going to be like stray balls all over the place because people are going to get carried away. The ball's going to go out. Someone's going to throw a ball on and someone else is going to throw one on. It's going to be hilarious. I think the way Eddie wants to play, he wants high intensity. He wants, especially if we've got the ball, we're playing against lesser opposition. He's going to constantly want that pressure on. And I think it'll help the likes of the Cities and the Liverpools who like to constantly press. However, if we're not fit enough, I don't think that'll be a problem. But the lesser fit teams, I think, are going to struggle because, like, say for example, us last year, it would have absolutely ruined us because you saw what happened against West Ham last year. We looked bright in spells, but totally fell apart second half because we just weren't ready. So yeah, and then on the other note, the FPL side of things, it makes your 3 subs not really as important as what they have been, because you can now almost guarantee that, say for example, if you had Diogo Jota in your team and he got benched, there was a high chance that he didn't come, or he wouldn't come on, and you'd get a 0 and you'd have an auto sub. Now there's a very, very strong chance that Klopp will bring him on for 20 minutes, and obviously Liverpool being Liverpool, there's a very strong chance he'll get you something anyway. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think you will just probably need one active sub who's going to guarantee you a start every week. For example, for me, I've just got 4.5 and 4 million players in there just to kind of tick me over, which is what I always do. But I think one of them is Villa's striker, Archer, the young lad, who is probably not going to see the starting lineup at all. So he'll probably be 3rd sub every week.
It's interesting about the fitness and what we think Eddie Howe is going to do. It was quite telling in the last 2 friendlies that he didn't seem to make a substitute till the 90th minute. He was bringing on the youngsters for like 2-minute cameos. And I think he said himself, like, he wants these players to be able to do 90 minutes because of what's coming. And I think they'll be well drilled with that. Okay, so that's our lineup. I'm sure we're all looking forward to the game. Now comes the fun part, and it's our predictions. Iain, I'm going to come to you first. What are your predictions? And we'll also get a little Joey's prediction as well, because I know he's got a nice one for us as well.
He has.
So what are your predictions?
You know what it is? I completely forgot we even had to do predictions. It's been a long summer. I'm a bit rusty. I'll start with Joey's. Joey thinks it will be a barnstorming 4-3 to Newcastle. Didn't give us any scorers, but he thinks it's going to be a 4-3. I will go for a more conservative 2-0. 2-0 win.
Okay. Harry, your prediction?
Same as Iain, to be honest. You've kind of stumped me a little bit. I completely forgot about the idea of making a prediction about the whole thing's all about, really. 3-1. It's the first score that came in my head, and I'm trying to think through it. But I think 3-1. Yeah, I think it's like it was always the first game of the season. I don't think no one knows. No one knows. And like I said, we don't even know the team. We don't know how they're going to play. We don't know how we're going to play. And both teams will be fully up for it. I do think we'll probably have the experience on our side, obviously, and more kind of the composure, I suppose, to get us over the line. But yeah, 3-1.
Matt, your prediction?
Harry totally stole my score. I was going to say 3-1, but do you know what?
Of course you will.
I'll push the boat out. I'll go 4-1. I think they'll try and match us. I think they'll try and match us for intensity. I think when Iain Henderson's been talking on Sky Sports News, he seemed quite arrogant actually, but he was trying to say they don't want to be here just to kind of, like, I can't remember the exact quote, but they didn't want to
take
part sort of thing. And I think they're going to go in all guns blazing, and actually get done and get found out a little bit, especially in midfield. So I think probably close first half an hour, or close first 45, maybe 1-1. But then I think second half our fitness will shine through, and we'll get another 2 or 3.
Interesting. So I'm thinking 2-1 personally. There's usually a lot of goals on the opening day of the season. There's usually no clean sheets or very few clean sheets on that opening day of the season, unless you're, your Man Cities or your Liverpools. I think a lot of teams will leak the odd goal or two for the first couple of games that they normally wouldn't do. So yeah, I think 2-1. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game, but I do agree with you, Matt, that I think come the latter stage of the second half, Forest may start to show, they're inexperienced a bit when it comes to managing a Premier League game, because it is different to the Championship. We all know that from previous seasons, and yeah, I think 2-1 is something that I think will go 2-0 up, and then they'll just nick a goal, kind of 40-50 minutes sort of thing. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I do have one more question for everybody. Does Jack Colback feature at all in the game at the weekend? Because he still plays for Forest. Are we going to see the Ginger Perlo grace the green grass of St. James's Park?
Well, to be honest, I don't know enough about Nottingham Forest. I don't know. You think he starts?
Yeah.
I would say so.
Got a few injuries. So I think he starts centrally in a 2.
You'll get laughed off and then get a red card in 20 minutes or something.
He's Premier League, I was going to say Premier League proven. Was he really? He's Premier League experienced for what they need. So maybe because I keep thinking he's another one that's like 24, but he's probably pushing 30s. But yeah, I think he will start. But just touching on obviously what you were saying about it's a completely different animal. I just hope the Premier League being completely different league, the Championship. Forest went on that run in the FA Cup where I think they knocked out 3 Premier League teams. Having said that, I think they beat Arsenal in that run, and there was another one. Can't remember.
Man United? Did they beat Man United?
I can't remember. I think they got knocked out of Liverpool. Was it Spurs? I can't remember. Might have been Spurs. Could have been Spurs.
We've just named one of the good Premier League teams there.
Yeah. The only thing I think with that though is obviously they had a completely different squad, and it's a different occasion. But I hope they don't treat the first game back in 20 odd years of the Premier League as what they were treating the FA Cup. That's my only concern, but fingers crossed. One of the predictions comes up.
He's very good at slowing a game down, Jack Colback, isn't he? So
he's very good at passing sideways.
Yeah, I was going to say, he'll pick the ball up, turn around and think, nah, I'm not going forward. Like, kind of be arse.
Joe Linton will smash him after 20 minutes. I'm telling you now.
Does Colback get a good reception, or does he get booed?
Mix. Be a mix.
No,
I think it's mixed.
I think you'll get Pickford treatment. Personally.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think so. I think they'll see an easy route. Obviously, St. James's Park love a little kind of scapegoat, don't they? Somebody to absolutely rattle. And I think he's an easy target. He didn't
First game of the season as well.
He didn't really shine, did he, in our colours?
No.
And he's still technically a Magpin, so he'll get pelters, I think.
Interesting. Well, we'll all find out.
Has that ever happened before, where someone's played for Sunderland, came to Newcastle, and then moved on and came back to play Newcastle? someone will be able to comment in, surely. Just realised as well, this isn't going out live. Like, this isn't live now. Yeah.
You'll be waiting a while for a comment.
I'll be,
like 2 days later.
Yeah, I mean, we could do, but we'll be going 40 minutes now. So, I think we've talked about everything we need to talk about, boys. The only thing left to do is to thank you all for your time, and thank you, the viewer, for spending your probably Thursday or Friday. By the time this goes out, it'll be Thursday for everyone. Listening to us ramble on about Jack Colback and Nottingham Forest and all that sort of stuff. If you want to hear more stuff like this and you want to hear more content like this, obviously the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel is a channel that you should be subscribing to. You can go down under this video and hit that little subscribe button. You can hit the little notification bell to get notified when we post new videos, and there's a whole host of content coming. There's been some good content this week. Matt, you've had your FPL video go out earlier this week. Obviously, we've got these match previews. There's the Always Smiling Faces podcast. Extra Time, I believe, is coming back as well this week. Although might have to hit Roger on the DMs because I think he's still in Ibiza, so we'll see what's going on.
Partying it up, man.
He's still partying it up in Ibiza. Lucky man. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you for the next match preview against Brighton. Hopefully, we get one of our predictions comes to fruition in the weekend's game, and we'll see you in the next one. Say bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.